This look familiar to you down here?
Oh, yeah.
Robert Cooley is back in his hometown. It was on these streets that he blew wide open the mob's control over law and order. As shots ring out, along with cameraman Dwayne Muhammad, we head for the building. Chicago. It is a dynamic, diverse, passionate city. It is a city of writers, poets, and politicians, murderers, drug dealers, and thugs. As a city, it has presided over the best of times, and it has suffered through the worst. The mid to late 1960s were among the worst of times, and one of the reasons was the gangs. In the 60s, the biggest, baddest gang of all was the Blackstone Rangers. One of its organizers was a skinny kid from Aberdeen, Mississippi, an unlikely-looking leader by the name of Jeff Fort, known from his earliest days on the street as Angel. In the 20 years that would follow, Jeff Fort would move from gang leader to interstate drug dealer to an historic criminal conviction for conspiring to commit domestic terrorism on behalf of the government of Libya. Through it all, Jeff Fort would remain the enigmatic, charismatic leader of a closed society.
Jeff Fort, Angel of Fear, is a Channel 5 News documentary reported by Carol Marie.
This is the story of Jeff Fort, of what he was and what he's come to be. But it's also the story of a Chicago community called Woodlawn and what happened to that community when it tried to combat the street gangs that were literally tearing it apart. A lot of things have changed in 20 years, but to this day, there remains a passionate argument over whether things could have turned out differently. A fierce debate over whether Jeff Fort or Woodlawn could have been saved. By 1972, Woodlawn was a wasteland. Its business district shattered, its jazz clubs closed, its shops and restaurants shut down. The homeowners of the 50s who couldn't tolerate the gang violence of the 60s were gone by the 70s. Empty buildings, vacant lots, and broken glass told the story of their flight.
What would you do if this was an everyday occurrence where you live? What would you do if crime was so bad you were afraid to walk outside? These are questions faced all the time by CHA residents, and Carol tonight has a special report.
Ron, crime unfortunately is everywhere, but if you call the CHA home, you know that the level of crime there is beyond what anyone anywhere would consider acceptable. And if the same amount of crime existed in comparably sized communities like Lincoln Park, Schaumburg, or Cicero, the public outrage to stop it would be overwhelming. The projects, public housing, the CHA, say the names out loud, and many of us see in our mind's eye a place we have never been. Public housing in Chicago is isolated and segregated, set apart from the rest of the city and surrounding suburbs. In many ways, the CHA is regarded as an island of uncommonly high crime. 3 years ago, the CHA created its own police force to add muscle to existing Chicago police details and to try to stem the tide of violence here. For 2 days in the last week in April, we followed officers Kevin Say and David Davis on their daily routine. Their job is to protect the residents of the CHA from crime. Crime generated, say the officers, from a minority of other residents who, through gangs, guns, and drugs, seem to hold the balance of power here.
I think for most people who pick up bites on the television and headlines in the newspaper, they can't even begin to imagine. That threat is there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in public housing.
For the last 2 months, Channel 5 News has examined and cataloged police reports for the month of February. In that one short month alone in the CHA, we found at least 719 cases of violence, vice, and property crimes. Among them, 2 homicides, 5 criminal sexual assaults, 36 assaults, 203 batteries, 55 thefts, 95 crimes of criminal damage to property, 35 robberies, 50 burglaries, and 135 drug crimes.
If I have to die for a cause, I will die for a cause.
Lily Webb is one of 900 residents who have formed tenant patrols.
This is a place where we have to stay, we have to raise our children. And we're going to do that one way or another.
What is not acceptable to Lily Webb is also not acceptable to Vince Lane, the chairman of the Chicago Housing Authority.
What I'd like to see is that crime exists at no greater level in public housing than in any other community in the city.
Based on the numbers that we have for just the shortest month in the year and a cold one,
Right.
you have not achieved what you would consider an acceptable level of crime.
Absolutely not.
They're shooting at 4410.
For Officers Say and Davis and the residents of the CHA, what you are about to see is all too routine.
Let me get out.
10-4.
Officer Davis goes first. We follow moments later. As shots ring out, along with cameraman Dwayne Muhammad, we head for the building. Once inside, the object is to find the shooter. It is a nearly impossible and extraordinarily dangerous task.
Oh man, that was a firecracker.
TAC Sergeant Willie Miranda and others join in the search, checking hallways and vacant apartments.
I'm coming down the 6th floor west entrance. Okay, come on down, All right. Let's go.
After 6 minutes, the search proves futile.
Get in the car. Get out of here. I'll cover.
Sergeant, we're out of here.
Some crimes are impossible to solve. What you just saw was one such instance. Officers on the scene could not find the source of the gunfire, and the risk of further investigation was too great. The CHA estimates law enforcement and security costs are rising to an estimated $68 million a year.